Welcome to another episode of the Late Winner FPL show. I have Rohil and Sankalp from the Understanding Football today. So we have a first guest on our channel for the FPL videos. So welcome Sankalp, and how you doing?
Hey, hi mate, hi Rishabh, hi Rohil. Good so far. Obviously, we are in midst of crisis. Is still continuing, right? COVID. Still, most of my time is indoors, working from indoors. But thankfully, in India, we have started going to office now. A
Okay.
bit of a relaxing, and of course, the weekends help. This is going to be only weekend where you keep waiting for the international break to get over. But FPL helps a lot.
Nice. How may I ask how are you? How have you been doing in FPL at the moment?
Oh, this is a good year for me. I have been playing the game for almost a decade, but to be honest, I never played it seriously. The first part of the 7, 8 years
Yeah.
is just me making a team at the start of the season and letting it go, right? 2, 3 years back, I finally found some friends, friends of friends who were also serious about the game,
Yeah.
and that's how I started playing regularly. This is a good season for me. I'm currently around 34K
Hmm.
uh, with a target of 20K. So I was doing pretty bad actually. I was around 830K, and game week 8 is when I triggered my wild card. But I went for an ultra differential wild card, with Chilwell, James, made all the right moves. And
Yeah.
3, 4 weeks from 830K to 35K. I mean, it's good rise.
Oh, I should have met you, I think 4 or 5 weeks earlier. Because my personal team is doing like horrendous at the moment. Like I've not been able to find any like even after activating my wildcard, I've not been able to find the players that give me points. So yeah. But yeah, hope but the thing is that our late winner show team is doing pretty well. We're still at about 56K, so which is good. But
That's
let's yeah
great.
let's begin the show. But before we do that, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Late Winner Show. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well for all kinds of loads of content that comes up on our YouTube videos. But today we're basically looking at all the best best teams that have a lot of good fixtures in the coming in the coming 5 to 6 weeks. So we just wanted to discuss on those teams and what are the different types of players that we can look at in the upcoming week. So let's get ahead with that and let's start with Tottenham. Rohil, you wanna start with this?
Yeah, sure. I think obviously with Antonio Conte's appointment, I think Spurs definitely have a chance of actually hitting a few good fixtures right now. I mean, they play against Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich. All are pretty easy fixtures, I would say. Uh, hopefully the players and to players the players I think they should be watching out for are Harry Kane. You know the usual players for Spurs, obviously, who are mostly involved in the goal scoring right now. Kane, I'm still a little bit hesitant because I don't know if his where his head is at right now, because we're still waiting for the Harry Kane from the previous seasons to actually find his mojo back, and I believe Conte will do that, but just don't know when it will happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is one thing which we'll need to look out for. But Son, I think still a lot of people have him in his team right now, and I think he is definitely paying a lot of dividends. Um, they Spurs had, I think, last game they had a draw, their first draw in this year's Premier League. So I think yeah, looking at these fixtures, like I mentioned, I think they should be able to win. At least 4 out of the 5, I should say. Not, I'm not even going for a draw. I'm talking about wins. And right now, I think Son would definitely be very crucial in terms of defensive players. I think Regulion will definitely be a player you can actually target right now, because he is a player who usually goes up front as well and is involved in some attacks as well. So you see, he has 2 assists right now already. So I think, and based on the performances we've seen from Spurs, I think 2 assists is a pretty good number right now for them. So I think the more the once Conte actually realizes the strengths of each and everyone in their squad, I think they would be able to like focus more on the attack at a later stage. Right now, I think Conte wants to, I think, maybe just figure out how the defensive lineup will be there. So I think that's what the main fixture looks like right now for them,
Yeah,
and going
and
forward, hopefully
even
that will happen.
and just sorry, one point I wanted to add here is based on the formation that Conte plays with, that wing backs, I guess, like Regulion, and again, like I don't think we have Emerson in our list, but I guess Emerson can also be a kind of a
Yeah,
differential pick in Tottenham, because not a lot of players would go for him, but I guess like
absolutely.
Emerson can be one of the picks as well, because of that system that Conte plays.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sankalp, you have anything to add here?
Yeah, I think like you guys pointed out, Reguilon, Emerson, they can be a very good asset. Especially, I remember this time last year, around this time when Lampard was finally sacked by Chelsea and Tuchel came over, right? A lot of us kept thinking about the attacking assets and
Yeah.
which of them can, help us get those points. But the actual, key for us was in the defense, which we took
Yeah,
time to realize, right? Whenever a world class coach takes over, I think one of the first things they work on is defense, right?
Yeah.
Given the fixtures, I feel the Spurs defense have good credibility of getting some clean sheets on, and then to add to it, the kind of positioning that we have already seen Regulan and Emerson get into last game.
yeah.
I think they can be very good assets for people who are looking to get those extra points, because everyone will be on to Kane and Son in the coming weeks, but not everyone will be on to a Regulan or a Emerson.
Yeah, but Kane, is Kane really a good asset to get at the moment, or we should still see how Conte is actually performing with Kane, because I know like he'll work with him to get him onto the score sheet, but right now I don't see him like with the good space, or like good headspace at the moment. Even though he scored a hat trick against Albania for England, but I don't still see him performing in a Tottenham shirt.
So there are a couple of points here. Like you rightly pointed out, he's still off form. The transfer window obviously didn't help his case, right?
Yeah.
Where he was already looking to leave Spurs. One thing is, what I really liked was the game against Everton, right? Where you could see Harry Kane's positioning changed drastically, right?
Yes.
Under Nuno, he kept falling back, and it
Yeah,
was the movement was so slow that he could not be at the end of a lot of crosses or chances. Right, was completely going to Son, and we were expecting the same thing, a similar setup under Conte. But the last match, I kept seeing Harry Kane being at the right place at the right moment. Right, while he did not get the delivery, he was there. From a skill set point of view, I think he's the perfect striker. He obviously is a differential as of now because given his form. But what helps or what makes me think of Kane above Son currently is 3 weeks later you will be definitely in a queue to get someone like Ronaldo, right? Who will be on a 15 game week long stretch of good games, right?
Yeah.
And when you are going to do that, having someone like Kane in your team will help you very much, because it's an easy move, right? A point 2.3 difference moving from Harry Kane to a Ronaldo. But if you're
yeah,
on a Son and a Salah, a couple of heavy midfielders in your price bracket, you are most probably going cheap at the front line, right? In that case, if you want to move to a Ronaldo, it is going to make things much more difficult.
Yeah.
Looking at that, I'm thinking, Harry Kane is not that much of a bad move. While I understand, Son has been much more in form, right? He has 4 goals and one assist compared to Harry Kane. But the fact that the positioning has already changed for Harry Kane, and the fact that he can at worst be a filler for a Ronaldo 3 weeks later, that makes me think of Harry Kane.
I think that's yeah, I think that's well put. But before even anyone points out in our comments or chat saying that why isn't and why isn't United part of this list? I think based on the performances of United, I don't think anybody is looking at a United asset. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe as a United fan, I'm hoping in the next 7 days, if there's a good news that actually comes off, that actually Ole has been sacked, so I can update this list and put United players in there. But yeah, enough about United. Let's talk about the blue half of Manchester, which is Manchester City. They have a really good run of fixtures, even though and I think what I can definitely say is that their defense has been really really solid. Even though you see the Everton, West Ham, Villa in the next 3 games, and I mean, Everton should not be a really troublesome fixture for City, I feel, based on the current form that Everton has. But West Ham and Villa now, again, Villa is again 3 weeks down the line, which will give Gerard even more the new manager for Villa, who to more time to get adjusted to his team, and you don't know what we will expect in that game. But at the moment, I think the only fixture that I see are troublesome is probably going to be West Ham, and they probably they also knocked them out of Carabao Cup. But still, City is City. I think they still find a way to do certain things in the games where they are able to nick that goal and win the game. So based on that, we have about five players that we did want to discuss, which is Jesus, De Bruyne, Ruben Diaz, Gundogan, and Foden. People might argue that why Gundogan is in the list, but if you look at his XG, he's still in and around that goal
Box.
area,
Yeah.
yeah, box area where he does get where he does get those chances. So I feel like he's a good asset to have. Maybe the price, at least for me, puts it off, but I still feel like he is still a good asset if somebody is looking for something, some for a City asset in that particular range. In terms of defense, I think Ruben Diaz is one really really good pick. I think one other pick that we can do talk about is Joao Cancelo. I think he produced a couple of assists in the last game in the Manchester derby, obviously, but he's been playing pretty well, and he's, I think, the Pep roulette that we obviously call for. I think Diaz and Cancelo, they have not been part of that for this season. I think they started almost every game. I think
Yeah,
so. Cancelo has
mostly. Yeah.
definitely started all the games, but I think Diaz was rested for one of the games. But yeah, I think that, I mean, I feel like, yeah, Manchester City definitely players are to look out for. Jesus, I just feel that his goal threat has definitely gone down as soon as Ferran Torres got injured. I think when Ferran Torres was playing up front, I think Jesus was doing a lot of things on the on his wing side. But now that Phil Foden is playing as that false nine, I don't see him very much in the game. I mean, he's obviously he's in the game, but he's not producing the attacking returns that we want from a fantasy perspective. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about City assets?
Yeah, I think city assets are pretty great to have. I wouldn't recommend KDB at this stage because
Hmm.
I don't. I think he is a victim of the Pep roulette, and I think his involvement is always in and out of the games. I've always seen that in the past few weeks itself. Since the Liverpool fixture, I've been noticing how much heavily rotated KDB is at the stage in City's team. So maybe not recommend him, maybe because he is still a differential, but he's again a 12 million player. You definitely don't want to have him on the bench.
Mhm.
So I think it's not going to do any favors for any of us at this stage to have him. Yeah, I think the best out of the lot, the players is probably Jesus and Foden to have in the team right now based on the price tags. They both have been involved in, whether you want to say they were lucky goals or not, but yeah, again, Foden has scored those goals, and in terms of FPL, that's what matters for us. So Foden has been scoring the goals. He is in the box, and he's still giving you the points which you need, which everyone desperately needs. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add on that. But yeah, I think in terms of fixtures, like you've mentioned, I think the defense lineup is pretty solid, and I don't see any faults in the next five fixtures for them.
Okay. For Liverpool, I think we might only want to focus on one player, but we'll not. We'll also focus on other couple of players. But Sankalp, do you have some thoughts on Liverpool assets?
I think sure shot you should have Salah and Trent, right? Those are the two people you need to base your team around. One thing I really liked when I read, early in the season, I read an article by Eric Freeman. Is when you're looking for a top 20, top 10K consistency, right?
Hmm.
As human beings, you have to reduce the number of decisions you have to make in the FPL over 38 weeks, right? Each transfer actually matters. When we normally play, right, we keep on, jumping from one player to another for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? But that is based on a premonition or an assumption that one team will do well. Football keeps on surprising you, right?
Yeah.
So as an FPL manager, you need to reduce the number of interventions that you do in your team, right? And Salah and Trent are two players who gives you that option, right? Trent, I think of him as a 7.5 million midfielder who will give you around 160, 170 odd points, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'll take him. I don't need to sell him out, right? So these are the two players that I have my eyes closed. Unless the African Nations Cup, right? That duration is long for Salah. That's when I will go back to maybe a Kevin De Bruyne and look at what is his form back then. Else, Salah is a set and forget. And this is the season I think which gives us a unique opportunity to reduce even our captaincy decisions, right?
Yeah,
For me, I am normally a very poor captain choice. If you ask me, I'll keep on debating who will be my captain and vice captain, and
Yeah.
eventually my vice captain will outscore my captain. So this year, I feel so good. I don't have to think a lot around the captaincy. I just have kept it on Salah, forgotten it. Given that he's a midfielder, that helps as well, right? He gives us that
yeah,
extra 1 point for a goal, for an assist, for a clean sheet. But the third choice is what is going to be a good thing because given Firmino's injury, a lot of people have started thinking about Diogo Jota. Now, Diogo Jota is purely a forms player. If he's on form, he picks up, he'll keep on scoring goal for say 5 games, 6 games stretch, and then he'll stop, right, for a break, right? So getting onto that form or getting onto that ride, right, is important. I never pick on Jota, before that form. I'll always look at him, wait for him to score a couple of goals, and then I'll jump on him. There are people who are, going with Sadio Mane as well. I think we keep on forgetting about Mane basically because of the price, right? It makes us very difficult for us to go to that. But
yeah,
he has done well this season. I think he's someone to keep a eye, on if given the fact that Liverpool is already the best attacking, side currently in Premier League, both by goals and XG, right? It is possible for us, at some point of time to really look at Sadio Mane as a great differential to have in your team.
yeah,
I think, yeah, I feel like Salah and Trent are definitely two players that you don't probably put them out of your FPL team until game week 38. Obviously, that is the threat. I personally did it last week when I was like, yeah, they're playing against West Ham. He's not going to give you anything, but I think he ended up giving a goal and then an assist as well. So I yeah, obviously lost out on that, but I'm probably not going to make that same mistake again. I think Salah and Trent are going to be in the team regardless of the fixture. But yeah, I think. But what do you think about Van Dijk? Like, do you think like Van Dijk is a good option? Like, or like should managers start doubling up on Liverpool's defense?
Yeah,
I
if
don't
you
I
ask,
don't think so. I don't think so. They should because of the simple fact that um, Liverpool has been leaking goals a lot right now, and the one thing which I think you and I have obviously talked about is this, that when Liverpool is actually pressed, they leak goals at that point. It started with Brentford, and the trend has been continuing so far. The same thing happened against West Ham also last week. So the thing is right now doubling down on Liverpool defenders will be a dumb move, I would say. I think it's safer to go with two defenders from Chelsea rather than Liverpool at this stage.
Yeah,
And and again, like when you have Trent, so you already are covering up uh, the goals and the assists which he gives you. But Van Dijk is not that involved anyway. I mean, you look at his XG anyway right now. It's zero point 0.7. It's not that great. But obviously for a defender, it might look, you might say like, okay, that's fine. It's a decent stat, but Van Dijk is not something. I still feel like he's not hit his best form yet since his return. I think
yeah.
I am still waiting on him to actually just pounce on those activities right now.
Yeah, no, no, you're right. I mean, I was just asking the questions because I felt like, yeah, people are starting to think like, should we develop on Liverpool defenders or not? But I feel the same just because, as Sankalp correctly pointed out, that Trent is not a 7.5 defender. He's a 7.5 million midfielder. And that's how everyone probably looks at him because he gives you the goals and assists almost every other game. He's giving you the attacking returns.
Yeah,
So I think that's a good point. Um, Talking about Leicester City, they have a good run of fixtures as well, but I feel like for Vardy, goals have dried up. Barnes and Tielemans are definitely going up and scoring the important goals in the most recent weeks for Leicester City. I feel like Vardy's goals, I feel like they have dried up because of Inacho's involvement in the team. So now he's playing with the two striker Brendan Rodgers, and I feel like yeah, in Jamie Vardy is not getting those many chances like when he was the sole striker. But
Yeah.
but what do you think about Leicester City assets?
I
Sankalp,
think
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I think one news that we have missed out on is a probable, Tillman's injury,
Yeah.
which Sam FPL recently pointed out. It seems that he's now down injured, and
Okay.
Leicester City have been, completely dependent on Tillman from the midfield. He has been, not only scoring goals but creating that, number of chances with the over-the-top balls as well, right? So for now, I would really, back away from, looking at any Leicester City attacker unless I see how they, move it the entire pieces, right? One thing that I would be interested to see is, especially with Tielemans going out, maybe Daka, apart from Daka, gets us out in, right? That guy is very fast. He's very great on counters, and Leicester City normally look to hit teams on counter, right? So that, there are a couple of people I'll keep on my watch list. Ian Nacho, unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately because he was, really, really, really good last year. So it was always supposed to, come down a bit, right? So Nacho now does not attract me anymore, especially when given the fact that we have people like, Jimenez and even Callum Wilson on a similar price note, right? But Patson Daka interests me because currently no one is on him, and if he gets a South in, that lad can score goals. Given the fact that he comes from that, Leipzig academy, right? They do produce a lot of good players.
Yeah.
So I think someone to look at. Harvey Barnes, a lot of us started with him in the season. Unfortunately, he disappointed a lot at the start of the season, but
Yes.
he's a good player to have. I really like him as a player. He gives me a lot of that Ramsey vibes, as an Arsenal fan, because he runs it into the box at the correct time, and he's got a very good foot. He strikes it very well. He strikes the ball very well. But currently, looking at the kind of play they have been very inconsistent. At the
Hmm.
back, they have been very poor, and forward also, like you said, Vardy. People were starting to jump on the Vardy train.
Yeah.
3 weeks back, it disappointed. Three blanks. So I would just wait and watch when it comes to Leicester City.
Yeah. As I said previously, I should have invited you 3 weeks earlier when I was actually activating my wildcard. I jumped on the Vardy gun, and it has been disappointing for me for the last 3 weeks. But yeah, let's definitely move on to Newcastle United slash Bournemouth, because probably their manager now, who has been announced, has already has three Bournemouth players in them, which he probably thrived with at Bournemouth. So which is Wilson, Fraser, and Richie. If somebody did not understand the hint that I gave, so. But I guess I feel like we're not going to sit here and talk about the appointment that Newcastle United have been. But I guess it's a good management. It's a good managerial appointment for Newcastle. I guess Newcastle can definitely get some good winning runs under him, based on how Eddie how manages the team. And the good thing, again, as I mentioned, that he already has a couple of players that he's already worked with in the past, so he knows what he needs to do to bring out the best in him. And I guess Wilson and Fraser's a partnership, we all remember 3 years ago, 3 years ago, yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, that Eddie Howe actually managed to do something which was somehow like a Kane and Son partnership or something. So do you think that we should look at Newcastle United's players, given their fixtures are decent? And what do you think about any other assets that you might think, other than on the screen?
No, I think these, I won't be looking too much into Newcastle right now. I mean, I still want them to again correct the ship right now. As I would like to put it, I mean, I think it's important for them to understand where the defensive vulnerabilities are at this time for them. They have been leaking goals. I mean, even though they have been on the scoring sheets, I think if I have to be honest, I think it's something that reminds me of what Leeds was doing last year as well. They were scoring goals, but they were leaking goals at the same time. It's just that Leeds was getting the favorable results for themselves, and Newcastle are not. So I would only be focusing on the attacking duo, which is the Wilson and Saint Maximin at this stage.
Hmm.
I think those are the only players which I want to focus on, and I did have Saint Maximin for the longest period of time in my team anyway. So it helped me at that point. So his two goals and the three assists have paid dividends in that aspects. But yeah, I think since Wilson's return, I think even the Saint Maximin involvement has gone down a little bit in that aspects now, because at that point when Saint Maximin was scoring goals, Wilson was injured, I believe. So I think in terms of fixture, obviously Brentford, who is struggling because of because of Raya's injury.
Hmm.
Norwich, don't know again what will happen with them because of their new managerial which is coming in also for them. So again, that would be something to look out for. But Brentford, Norwich, and Burnley all look pretty easy fixtures to me, so they should be on the goal scoring on the scoring sheets. But I just don't know if they'll get the results for the in favor of them. So yeah, again, I would maybe again like right now what we are doing is probably perfect. As I would We should put it. I guess these are we can watch out for these players, but maybe not pick them at this stage in the team.
Yeah. Sankar, do you have any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Rohit. I have Wilson on my team already, so I'm going to sit on him. I don't have a choice. But I think the good thing is we can see two difficult fixtures, right? Brentford at home and Arsenal. Brentford have been normally a good defense, although last couple of weeks, 2 3 weeks, they have been a bit dicey.
Yeah.
And Arsenal again, Arsenal match is at Arsenal home, so again that is two matches that you can sit back and watch how this team is shaping up. Callum Wilson is the guy I always look at when it comes to Newcastle, because he's the talisman, right? He's a guy who will keep scoring goals, who will be at the end point of all big chances, right? So for me, whenever I look at a player, I look at Callum Wilson. But like Rohil pointed out, they're still not they're still not converting a lot of the chances. They're creating a lot but not converting. So we'll wait and watch. Once they start converting, I think Norwich at home might be the perfect time to bring on a Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
Did you just really say that Arsenal is a easy game because a difficult game because it is Arsenal, or because you're an Arsenal fan?
No, because I think defensively under Arteta we have been doing
No.
better now. So, and especially at Emirates, we have picked up a lot of points when it comes to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
No,
fixture
no, no.
plays. I look at Arsenal purely as a fixture play. Even though I'm a Arsenal fan, when it comes to FPL, I think of purely as FPL, right? So I look at Arsenal defense as a fixture play. When it comes to good fixtures, I bet on them. Else I won't.
All right. I think that was it from our side today. I think I hope you guys enjoyed it, and some took some tips from the video as well. Definitely do let us know if we missed out on some teams that we should have looked at. Definitely let us know in the comments below as well on the players that you think that still that needs to be looked at as well from the teams that we mentioned. And what are your teams, what are you guys looking into? We would definitely like to know all that, so please definitely comment below. I would like to thank Sankalp again from Understanding Football to come on to the channel and provide his thoughts on FPL. Before we actually do that, do you mind telling us a little bit about what your work is?
Sure. So
Yeah.
I started this page last year. The idea was to write more about football. I love writing, and football is a game that I've been following for 20 plus years. So I thought, why not combine both of these things and create a different outlet. So I've been writing a lot in this Twitter page. Last year, and I started writing for all about FPL when it comes to FPL. So it has been a page where I share most of my work around football and FPL, sharing some tips and tricks about especially when it comes to going outside that Twitter bandwagon, right? Thinking for yourself and trying and attacking that top 20, top 10, whatever is your goal for the season, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's great to hear. Before we do log off, obviously I have to say this every time, but make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Late Winner Show. We are about at 251 now, so road to 250 definitely helped us. Keep showing us the love. Now road to 300 begins. We are 49 away, so yeah, let's keep those subscribers, subscribe buttons. Keep clicking on those subscribe buttons so we hit that mark as soon as possible. Again, thank you both of you guys. Make sure that you we'll leave the links in the description below for understanding football and his work that we have. So please go ahead and check that out as well. And we'll see you really really soon.